Greetings from Frater FM. Come with me as we dive into another realm of the occult. Welcome all, Frater FM here with a book review on Aleister Crowley's illustrated Goetia. This book is edited by Milo Duquette and Christopher S. Hyatt, illustrated by David P. Wilson. Of course, a lot of us know who Lon Milo Duquette is. He's the U.S. Deputy Grand Master General of the OTO. Dr. Hyatt was the president of New Falcon Publishing. And David Wilson is a really good illustrator. This book goes over the pathology of magic, whether it be clinical psychology or the dealing of philosophy in therapeutic aspects for the subconscious, or the subconsciousness, I should say. Okay. Chapter 1, Nature of Evil. Initiated Interpretation of Ceremonial Magic by Aleister Crowley. It goes over history. I'll be reading from this history here in just a little bit. Okay, the minimum requirements for the temple. Your circle, the triangle. Okay, the circle where you're going to be, the triangle where the spirits are going to be. The seal of the spirit, you put their sigil in the triangle. The hexagram, the pentagram of Solomon, and the wand, your wand, magic ring, a brass bottle, and robe. Just to say a little bit about the magic ring, you might want to have that. I mean, some people exclude it, but the magic ring is really good for making disobedient spirits kind of do what you want. With also the brass bottle, the magic wand can help protect you. It can also be used in banishing. Sometimes if you're dealing with certain spirits, they have enticing ways. Some of them have sulfurous fumes or smell about them. The magic ring help you get past those, for you won't get drugged by their intoxications or die from their sulfuric fumes. One of the big sayings about the magic ring is used for Asatara, because she can be very enticing and even very sexually enticing, I should say. The brass bottle, Solomon was said to seal up all the evil spirits in a brass vessel, okay, or you'd say a lantern, maybe, bottle with a lead cap. Okay, your robe, and on your robe, you're going to have seals, a hexagram. Okay, you want to put that on your robe. Okay, so we're going to do a reading of the history out of this book. The format of Goetic evocation contains perhaps the most colorful, recognizable elements of any type of Western ceremonial magic. The magician, robed and armed, stands inside the magic circle, protected from the malice of the spirits by the innumerable holy names scrawled thereupon. Several feet away stands the spirit, trapped inside the triangle of the art. With his wand upraised, the magician issues his commands, and the spirit reluctantly obeys. This is the stuff of magic, of sword and sorcerer movies. Yet this is precisely the method, and it has come down to us in a most extraordinary way. 16th and 17th century Europe abounded with a myriad of practitioners of the magical arts, who for the most part were inspired by the colorful images of the Middle Eastern magic. We must keep in mind that for many years much of the Iberian Peninsula was occupied by Muslims. Ironically, even though Islamic law dictates strict proscriptions against unorthodox spiritual practices, the occupation forces tolerated a handful of Spanish communities where a certain level of spiritual freedom flourished. These pockets of liberality attracted not only the innovative practitioners of the black arts, but also the Jewish Kabbalist, whose wisdom was, for the first time, committed to writing. This period was to profoundly influence the Renaissance and subsequently the entire Hamitic tradition of Western civilization. It is from the tradition that the concept of Solomonic magic was developed. Spirits, genies trapped in bottles, magic carpets, great treasures protected by demons, all reminiscent of 1001 Arabian Nights. The text that has become known as the Goetia is the first book of what is commonly referred as the Megaton, or the Magiton, a collection of 5 texts traditionally attributed to King Solomon. The most popular versions, including the one Crowley hired S.L. McGregor Mathers to translate, all drawn primarily from translations of Sloane manuscript, Nos 2731 and 3648, in the possession of the British Library. Few individuals today are so naive as to believe that the author was indeed the legendary Hebrew king, King Solomon. Indeed, there is no evidence to demonstrate that the 5 texts are even the work of a singular author, or that authors were even practicing magicians. In fact, by the very nature of the translations, it is obviously that the scribe or scribes were decidedly hostile towards the art. Many of the spirits are clearly the gods and goddesses of older religions who were banished to the infernal regions by the New Order. Many of the dukes especially seem to have been originally female in character, a most dangerous spiritual ideal to lonely monastic scribes prone to fantasies. Magic books attributed to King Solomon circulated throughout Europe since at least the middle of the 16th century. Sloane 2731 dates from 1687 and most likely is the result of one practitioner's desire to have his favorite Solomonic works bound conveniently into one volume. It also appears that he used the opportunity to update the text by revising the language and using the vernacular of the day. As archaic as the language appears to us today, the Lamagetiton represents a new, improved 17th century version of far older material. How old we cannot say. The magical revival of the late 1800s resulted in new translation, and the Megaton and the Goetia emerged from near complete obscurity and into the light of relative obscurity, and students and practitioners of the cult have been tantalized by its mysteries ever since. Modern editions of the Goetia remain in print and continue to sell very well. Almost every student of magic worth his or her salt owns at least one copy. Yet relatively few individuals actually have participated in a Goetic evocation. The reasons are many, but perhaps the single most compelling excuse is rooted in the mistaken belief that in order to succeed in evocation, one must conform exactly within the procedures and conjurations outlined in the text. The seemingly endless pages of tedious, archaic, and periodical conjurations, constraints, exorcisms, and curses continue to bewilder and discourage 99% of would-be Goetic magicians, and that is precisely what they are meant to do. Now, here's the theory, and you need to listen up. This is really important. The universe was very simple. From the traditional Goetic magician's point of view, above him was God, the creator of the world, and the ultimate source of his authority. Below the magician was an infernal world inhabited by demon spirits who were once angels of the Lord, but now exiled from heaven as punishment for their pride and disobedience. Their fall established the interdependent threefold world in which we find ourselves: heaven above us, earth, and hell below us. Like the Titans of Greek mythology, the infernal spirits, not God, are responsible for the maintenance of the material world, including the earthly, fleshly nature of man. As a resident of the earth, the magician stands between the divine and the infernal worlds. If he is pious before his eyes of God, and he has the divine authority to order and control the lower spirits. To achieve the authoritative state of mind, the magicians of old recited lengthy litanies of affirmations and self-aggrandizements, itemizing their high morals and examples of their religious piety. You obeyed Moses. You obeyed Aaron. You'll obey me too. Once he has convinced himself that he had the authority to command the spirit, the magician next had to achieve the subjective state of mind, whereby he could actually see it. This he induced by the use of magic words, Abracadabra, which he recited much like a mantra. In this way, he created a strange and mystic atmosphere in which nothing was impossible, and anything could happen. Standing in the circle, protected by the divine names, which he had aligned himself, the magician, pumped up by affirmations and intoxicated by the magic words, concentrated upon the triangle until the spirit appeared. The universally holy virtues of all things triune was enough to trap the spirit in the triangle, long enough to receive the charge from the magician. Go do what I tell you to do. After receiving his orders, the spirit was given license to depart, to go forth and do the magician's bidding. The text of Goetia is filled with the details of such operations, page after page of formal conjurations, constraints, invocations, curses, greater curses, addresses to the spirit on his arrival and departure. There exist today Goetic magicians, both solitary practitioners and organized groups, who operate strictly by the book. The circle, the triangle, and all the diagrams are constructed exactly as illustrated in the Goetia. They recite, most often read, the conjurations, constraints, and curses exactly as written in the 1687 text. Ceremonies of some of these magicians are thrilled to behold, and without a doubt, the art will forever be perpetrated in its classic form because of their dedicated labor. It must be pointed out, however, that there is absolutely no necessity, nor particular advantage, to blindly conforming with the conjuration scripts of the ancient texts. The spirits are no more impressed if you say thee and thine than they are if you say you or yours. Aleister Crowley was aware of this and crafted several versions of his own conjurations. In fact, as we shall see, in his own copy of the Goetia, he simply hand-copied the second key of the Enochian system. It is our opinion, and that of other Crowley scholars, that for personal Goetic conjurations, Crowley most likely in his later years discarded the traditional conjurations and simply recited the first and second Enochian calls. It is also our opinion that the most effective conjurations are of the magician's own design. You heard that, right? Of the magician's own design. We encourage the reader, once the fundamentals of the system are thoroughly grasped, to create your own conjuration, which, like your temple, equipment, and procedures, is uniquely yours. Okay, so there you go. Aleister Crowley's illustrated Goetia, illustrated by the artist Clairvoyant, and he's also a Goetic magician, David P. Wilson. Makes all these arts, these drawings of the 72 spirits. 72 spirits, lesser key of Solomon, used to basically do your bidding, get what you want. It's different than the ritual of the Abramelin, which is basically the call or the conversation of your holy guardian angel. This is the keys of Solomon. Yeah. Aleister Crowley, illustrated Goetia, put out by the Falcon Press. It's around $30, Amazon. Real good book. Go pick it up. Frater FM.